Welcome, age of vintage society. Patience and simplicity may have defined the career life of laid-back Walter Pidgeon throughout an extended period of entertainment journey. He was one of the golden age Hollywood stars who kept faith in the studio system and worked his way to fame. Though he never made an excellent hit that could have given him an A rating, he was more than involved in events that did shape the industry amidst his classic gentlemanly charm that would become a legacy for a talent that offered so much for his generation. Why was Walter Pidgeon permitted to see Greer Garson bathing? As you all know how much I appreciate you, my viewers, so I want to thank you for your generous comments and for the Patreons. This video would not have been possible without you, and thanks to those who watched the video right to the end. Walter Pidgeon, a perfect Hollywood career gentleman. Walter Pidgeon is the man that recognises the dignity of labour and got rewarded by fans with love and appreciation. One thing this handsome gentleman of an actor is widely respected for in the entertainment circle is what a writer described as a career life of easygoing charisma that characterised his enduring outings in his movies. Showcasing his talent as your operetta star opposite Greer Garson in what appeared like a climax of his career, Walter had enough publicity that set him aside as a key player for half a century. His extended stay at MGM Studios may not have been unconnected to the fact that he shared a conservative tactic to politics and a common place of origin with studio mogul Louis B. Mayer. Critics think that he never climbed to the top echelon of his career based on industry standards. Ironically, Walter did not think so. Perhaps it was not preferable for him to become a red-hot actor so he can stay longer to enjoy the industry and do what he loved, technically suggesting he wanted it that way. This is what he felt at the time when he said, "I'd seen performers. They never lasted in the industry. Maybe a long glow is the best way." While he was at MGM, he was never thought of as a big fish that could match the likes of Norma Shearer, Joan Crawford, or even Greta Garbo. But their stay in the studio was so brief. "I outlasted them all at MGM, didn't I? It takes a lot of work to be easygoing, and I did my best to avoid being stuffy," he had said. Though Walter had a swift rise in Broadway stage production and Hollywood movie sets, it took him several years to have the taste of fame that he had always wanted. But it is also through that cumulative effort may have played a part in his late success. Critics think that he was not ripe for fame at the time he ran 8 popular features for MGM alongside Greer Garson, the reason he remained under playing the second fiddle. Pidgeon was very adaptable and dependable in his acting. He was a fast learner and more coarse or sentimental as necessary, but always accompanied his acting with understanding, devotion and wit. Was it also the reason he was said to have attributed his success to laziness? Walter, whose career spanned from 1925, remained active till 1977, producing amazingly over 100 movies. His soaring talents were remarkable to Hollywood, just like his countryman, MGM's B. Mayer. The two came from a remote Canadian community that may have put them up as unique personalities. Recall that the duo stood out in their capacity with different admirable leadership positions within their career. While Walter Pidgeon was a board member of the Screen Actors Guild for 33 years and 5 years as its president, B. Mayer spearheaded MGM and founded many industry-related bodies, including the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences that started the Academy Awards. Their enormous contributions did not go unnoticed, which was while some time ago, precisely at the 23rd Oscars event in 1950, B. Mayer was acknowledged for distinguished services to the motion pictures as he received an honorary award. At the time, he had spent over 30 years in the industry, just as in 1974 the Guild showered Walter with their highest accolade for outstanding achievement in fostering the finest ideals for the profession. Walter Davis Pidgeon, your favourite Canadian-American actor, who was born on the 23rd of September 1897 in St. John, New Brunswick, Canada, is indeed a name to be reckoned with in Hollywood entertainment. His parents, Hannah and Caleb Burpee Pidgeon, did well to position him for later glory. After his basic education, Pidgeon proceeded to the University of New Brunswick, majoring in law and drama. His father died when he was 6. He was said to have followed his early days' sweetheart, Edna Pickles, who moved to Boston in 1919 to learn art by entering the New England Conservatory of Music. While in Boston, he served as a bank runner before deciding to upgrade his vocal capacity at the school, while also appearing occasionally in preparatory theatrical production in Boston. It was possible that he was interested and fully ready to defend his country during World War I, but never saw battle because of an injury sustained when he volunteered with the 65th Battery as a lieutenant in the Royal Regiment of Canadian Weaponry. Walter was said to have been wounded by dual gun carriages that kept him off from service for 17 months in a military infirmary. After meeting and working briefly with E. E. Clive's theatre, he got married to Edna in 1922 and subsequently gave up acting so he can support his young family with a job in a brokerage firm. Unfortunately, Edna died after childbirth, leaving him with a child. Walter kept their daughter, named Edna Verne Pidgeon, in the custody of his mother and returned to acting. Pidgeon's performance thereafter got him a recommendation to join Elsie Janis, who was at the time in need of a male singer for her revue. Janis took him in, leading to his New York City relocation in 1923, where he made his reported Broadway debut in 1925, when he appeared in Janis's revue, Puzzles. Although later information revealed by Pidgeon suggested that he had a small part in You Never Can Tell, Broadway production, after an interview with Clive. Despite my having a total lack of professional experience, he gave me a small role, he was quoted to have said. Pidgeon may have been a successful talent working with Elsie Janis, even without a proper agreement, hence was said to have encountered some dispute with her, which subsequently led to a departure that would inspire him to try his luck in Hollywood. He showed in his first silent drama movie, Other Men, parts in Mannequin and several other soundless films, with little or no encouragement in terms of opportunity for his career growth. Soon he returned to New York in 1928 for a more promising theatre production, and with the fading of the silent era, Pidgeon's movie career got a quick upward rise because of his influential vocal talent. He continued appearing in films and rising in popularity with his in-demand singing roles before transitioning into dramatic character. He remained in the background until he was featured in the Oscar-winning Best Picture movie, How Green Was My Valley, in 1941. The Fritz Lang movie did not just skyrocket his popularity at the time, it was one of the beloved film projects that positioned him for further exploitation. It was William Wyler who was initially billed to direct the movie that persuaded the studio to bring Pidgeon in as a lead character. John Ford, who took over the project, maintained him in the cast. The movie particularly was instrumental to his next major movie outing, because MGM subsequently initiated the process of bringing him under top billing for their production. That was how Walter Pidgeon found himself in MGM and was cast opposite Irish-born young and fresh sensation actress Greer Garson in what was their first pairing for the movie Blossoms in the Dust in 1941. The duo made a perfect pair on set, leading to the studio using them in more films. Walter and Garson played married couples in 7 of their pairing, including the famous Mrs. Miniver in 1942. No wonder his partnership with beautiful Garson was more than cordial, as they continued to work together through the 1940s. Their popularity together was awesome, and was seen by many as the perfect family for the World War II era, for no reason other than the dignified, classy, and faintly heroic exhibition. Though there was an insinuation that Garson did most of the things that helped the films, which made even his fans neglect the astonishing act that Pidgeon displayed in the films. Some think he was resigned in Mrs. Miniver and Madame Curie, but the 2 movies got him much recognition. The movie that repackaged the Mrs. Miniver story in 1950 was said to have failed seriously at the box office. His final pairing with Garson, Scandal at Scourie, in 1953, in which fans watched them as a Protestant twosome, who foster a Catholic orphan, did not succeed, also leading to Garson's departure from the studio. Their journey together was remarkable. After they were auditioned before the productions, Pidgeon came out of the interview and labelled Garson a duchess. He was quick to tell those present that, "I'll bet we're starring together and we'll be running this studio." It was more of a prophetic statement because they technically started running the studio at the time with their performances. One funny issue with this epic pairing was that it favoured the lady much more than it did Walter, as she continued to soar as the undeniable queen of MGM within the period, gathering as many as 6 Best Actress Oscar nominations, with 4 of that coming from her collaboration with Walter. She also won an Oscar for her role in Mrs. Miniver. Interestingly, many of the films are more inclined to her role than Walter's: Mrs. Miniver, Madame Curie, Mrs. Parkington, Julia Misbehave, and Forsyth Woman. It was not funny, though she was projected that way by the studio, but it was disheartening that analysts downplayed his contribution by suggesting that the lady was leading while he was just following. But in all, Walter maintained his balance and kept faith in what he was doing, regardless of what may have seemed like an unhealthy distraction then. He was quoted to have acknowledged his second-place status when he told fans that "we were never equal," supposing that it was not titled Mr. Miniver, Mr. Curie, or Mr. Parkington. He described working with her as among the happiest associations of a lifetime. Garson, on her side, did not mince words when she referred to Walter as a perfect picture companion, suggesting a feeling of mutuality between both personalities. Their relationship off-screen was perfectly filled with genuine admiration and described as a warm, spirited relationship off-camera. A report was made of how the two were into gags on each other, which was iniquitous at MGM. A particular story was how Walter Pidgeon sent a ring to Garson's 1945 co-star in The Valley of Decision, Gregory Peck, alongside a message saying, "I hope this brings you as much joy as it did me." When they two appeared in their only comedy film, Julia Misbehaves, the movie began with her in a bathtub doing a terrible acrobatic position. It was reported that Pidgeon was the only actor permitted in at the restricted Garson's bath scene, in what seems like a justification of their closeness to each other. "As an actor who has been married to Greer Garson 4 times, I should have some privileges," Walter had said. Talking about the sincere on-screen love they felt for each other during that particular production, Pidgeon noted that they had more fun in the comedy film than any other. "We were so glad to be rid of the tears that we both performed. A bit ridiculous," he said. Walter Pidgeon's stay in MGM was more like being around friends and a big brother, because as you already know, he and the MGM boss are from the same town of St. John. They may not have met at home before he went to his office for contract signing because of age or cultural reason. B. Mayer, who is always thorough in selecting his talent, was satisfied with Walter's performance after watching his films and invited him over for the final discussion. But on getting where Walter met a suspicious eye of B. Mayer, who demanded to know more about him. After a brief introduction, the two learned that they had a common route, and the rest of the meeting became a mere formality. "I left his office with a contract for more money than I anticipated, and we were friends until the day of his demise," Walter recalled. When Pidgeon was offered a second extended contract with MGM in 1954, he happily accepted it, even when some of his mates in the industry had either faded off or gone independent. It was not just a way of appreciating a studio that gave his career the push that he needed, it also strengthened his career further and got him positioned for other benefits. Acknowledging this in an interview sometime before his demise, Walter told the press, "This studio takes good care of its talents. I'd be lost anywhere else." A lot of his achievements did not come until he was above 40 years. Naturally, with his age, movie offers were dwindling, so he had enough time to serve the Actors Guild in a leadership capacity from 1952 through 1957. Pidgeon made a brief return to Broadway with a good outing in The Happiest Millionaire from 1956 that got him a Tony Award nomination. As a devoted Republican, Walter was among many celebrity Republicans at a huge rally in the Los Angeles Coliseum, organized by David O. Selznick in 1944, to campaign for Dewey Bricker and Governor Earl Warren of California ticket. He also earned a well-deserved star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and was given Screen Actors Guild Life Achievement Award in 1975, having led the group as its 10th president. Pidgeon married for the second time to Ruth Walker, who was his secretary, and they remained together till death separated them. After several years of exploitation, Pidgeon took a leave from acting, majorly for health reasons, so he can take care of several strokes that already affected his communication and movement. The illness eventually put him to rest on the 25th of September 1984 in Santa Monica, California, just 2 days after he turned 87. He was said to have been widely mourned by the Hollywood community for his modesty and friendship with all, including being among the last surviving Golden Age actors. Those who talked about him referred to him as Mr. Miniver, something he once playfully suggested in one of his interviews. When you are constantly working together, there's always a special bond between the actors. Why James Dean had to please Ursula Andress. Watch this video.